Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Red Show on the Blue podcast. My name is Connor. I'm here with Reese. Reese, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm alright. Yourself?
Doing all right. Nice and early in the morning for me. Today we'll be, of course, talking about Ralf Rangnick, who's going to be coming to Manchester. And out of all coaches, it's a blessing because I don't think there's anybody we could have picked better to come. But today we'll be talking about him, basically his history, what his tactics are, and what we think that means for Manchester United as a club and the players themselves, what's going to happen with them. So, of course, we look at him and he did have a playing career. It was not a very superstar playing career, but he did play. He played for multiple different teams, ended up scoring his only thing of note for VFR Heilbronn, scoring 6 goals in 66 appearances. Besides that, kind of very much a shadows playing career. And then, of course, we know he's really what he's known for is his managing career as well as what he's done upstairs for different clubs, of course, for Hanover, Stuttgart, and most of note, of course, is Schalke and RB Leipzig, his two teams that he really did a lot with.
Hoffenheim as well, like the key. I'd say Hoffenheim really showcased what he was really bringing to football before he got the Schalke job, before he got Leipzig.
Yeah.
What he did at Hoffenheim really caused a stir in the German game and in Europe as well.
Which I think is great for us because anybody who causes a stir in the whole game in German, in a whole area of football, I think is a great signing for us. So I'm really excited by this. I know, Reese, this is your idol.
He's one of them, yeah. Like when I look at football idols, I always say David Beckham's my favorite footballer, but like favorite managers, it's Arrigo Sacchi, it's Rangnick, it's Nagelsmann in the modern game. Like in terms of like younger up and coming managers, Sir Alex Ferguson, obviously, but like even like Hansi Flick, Jupp Heynckes, like I like Marco Rose, but when it comes to the German game, like my undying favourite is Ralf Rangnick. Like for what he's done in football, like dating back from his first managerial appointment in 1983, his last managerial job ended a couple of years ago, like 2019. But then again, this guy's been in football all of his life.
Yeah.
He prepared to stay in football the right way. He got into football based on the fact it's like, what is the biggest sport in Germany? It's football. Like Germany is a massive country for sports. They're very involved in sports like such as football, badminton, tennis. They've got the basketball side as well, but like football is to them like the holy grail sport.
Yeah, I mean, he boasts a great winning percentage as well. If you look at the clubs he's managed, there's only really 3 clubs that fall below that below almost the 48% winning percentage, and that's pretty good for someone who stayed at these clubs for multiple years. Like you said, he's been here since '83. Been playing since he started playing in '76. So this dude,
that's right.
He's a lifer.
And he's a defensive midfielder as well, so you'll be seeing what happens with our midfield too. Like in the games to come, they'll actually be treated like a defensive midfielder. Well, one of them will be a designated defensive midfielder.
I can't wait for that because that's one thing that everybody's been screaming for. And of course, I think I've heard that one of the reasons that he's also questionable to get the full-time job is because he is 63. He's not.
I can understand that, like the age factor, but then again, like he's very committed to his job. He's very intelligent. He's very articulate as well with how he wants certain roles to be done. And frankly, the age shouldn't be a concern. It's how he presents his ideas to the team. If you don't buy into his team, you're not going to play. He doesn't care if you're the best player in the team or, no disrespect, the worst player in the team. The worst player can start ahead of the best player because the worst player actually buys in. So, like, if you buy in properly to his methods, his fundamental focus on the game, then you're going to thrive. If you don't, then you're not even going to get a sniff. So that's the key for him. It's proper commitment to his style of play. If you don't commit, you're not going to get it. It's like that famous quote that he said. It's about like, comparing pressing to pregnancy, which I think is one of the best comments.
It's one of my favorite.
I think it's one of the best comments because it's relevant because if you actually think about it, it's either you press properly or you don't press. It's like somebody saying they're pregnant, but they're not pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. Like, there's one way down. That's what he's compared. He's literally compared his fundamental vision of football to a natural life cycle that happens in life. A woman can be pregnant. A woman can get pregnant unless you're unfortunately infertile. You cannot be. You're either pregnant or you're not. You're either fully pressing or you're not. If you do not press, you're not going to be effective in his way of football. And that's why I think that quote itself is important. And the fact that he spoke about what is the fundamental views of a coach or a manager, like, is to have a clear style of play that becomes embedded in your team. It becomes, like, as he said, in your heart, in your mind, in your veins. It becomes injected in you. It becomes second nature. As soon as you're embodied in that style, it doesn't leave you. It's stuck with you, and that's what he wants. He wants his players to be adapted fully. Quicker minds over quicker feet. That's literally that's his third key quote. You need to remember that one. That one is very important for any Man United fans watching this channel.
This dude speaks, and it's just every single thing out of his mouth. I'm just like, Man United prayers have been answered.
This, like, we've gone away from the whole Messiah thing. Like Ollie was seen as the Messiah in a way, like the Messiah to save Man United, like come back as a Man United legend and fix things. But what we've actually done is what we should have done. We're going the modern way of football. Proper ran football club by football-minded people, because Richard Arnold, he's an idiot, but he's a banker, but he's actually used his brain. He's actually said he wants to delegate power to football-minded people, and there's no one better in the game than Ralf Rangnick who knows what he's doing. You bring him in, he's going to build the structure.
For him to go, I don't know football. I need people to help handle that on the football side, and guaranteeing that consulting role is probably the best thing that I think already puts Arnold as a better CEO than Woodward.
Than Woodward, exactly. Yeah, like Woodward, I'm not going to disagree. Like, in terms of the worst CEO, absolutely. He's his fifth manager under his tenure. Like, and it's the fifth under this board since we last won the league title. And we're now going in a modern approach to football. I know people are going to have a little bit of worry because of his clear physiology on football, his clear understanding. It is going to give people philosophy vibes, which I understand. And obviously, the last time we had a full-on philosophical coach was Van Gaal. Van Gaal is one of the greatest in the game. But his problem is he wasn't, even though he was great at the World Cup, when he came to United, he didn't understand the league. He got things wrong. He was too restricted on the team in terms of the shackles were on. We weren't quick enough with the ball. Great manager, but he didn't assimilate to the league. This is a guy who's actually going to properly assimilate, because this is a guy that understands and he adapts everywhere he goes. And if you don't have somebody that fails to adapt, you're going to fail. He understands that. He's coming in. He's going to adapt to the league. He's going to take us forward, and we're going to benefit tremendously from this. So it's a perfect appointment from the short to long term, short to medium term, in terms of getting us back on track, but the medium to long term in terms of building the club in a modern way. And that's what we have lacked all this time. And it's great that somebody's actually called this out. He's called that out, and he's coming to us. He could have went anywhere, but he's coming to the club.
He was already at
a club.
But Reece, he's never won a Champions League. He's never won a Champions League. I hear this everywhere. He's never won a Champions League. Big fucking love. He's never won a Champions League. Have you seen if people actually?
He's already won a European trophy. I bet people forget that. People forget that Ralf Rangnick has actually won a European trophy. I know it's not it's not the standout one, but in 2000 they won the Intertoto Cup.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That's a European trophy. I'm pretty sure Sir Bobby Robson won that at Newcastle.
And if you look at the trophies he has won, it's not like he's won the Norwegian league. He's won the German league. He's won the Austrian league. He's won quite a bit. And if you actually look
under his stewardship, those like the Austrian league was won by coaches under him in terms of like leading the progression. But he didn't win the Bundesliga. He didn't win the Bundesliga.
It's a win for the organization when you do something like that, because it starts at the top, like you said. This is why we need Rangnick in now, is because it's a change to the entire club. It's not just the coach being a new coach. It's a turn of
I mean, back to back he got back-to-back promotions with Hoffenheim in the early after he got sacked by like Hanover and all that. Like after he won them the second Bundesliga, then that was like in terms of league titles, he won the second Bundesliga with Hanover. Then they sacked him. Idiots. He won them the Intertoto Cup as well, but then he goes to Hoffenheim, who were owned by a billionaire as well. Gets them promoted back-to-back promotions. Gets them into the Bundesliga. They were top of the Bundesliga as well in their first full season. Like they were top of the league. They eventually lost the league. They didn't win it that season, but they were top going into the midwinter break. They were flying ahead. People were calling them out saying, "Oh, they're just." At the time it was a 6,000 seater stadium. Oh, they're rich owner. They're just buying the league, but they didn't. They were actually smart recruitment and bringing in players that fit the system on the cheap. They weren't actually spending big money. And it was called out a lot. It was called out a lot by that. But the only one that actually defended Hoffenheim and Rangnick's approach was Jens Lehmann. He was at Stuttgart at the time. Lehmann came out and said they're not actually. If you think they're buying success, then there's something wrong with you because they're not spending big money and they've got a rich owner. He actually defended that. So I'm like, thank you. Somebody understands.
Yes, I mean, if you look, the most he spent at Hoffenheim was for Carlos Eduardo. That was 7.7 million.
Exactly.
That's besides that, if you go any higher, he does have two players that cost him more that he brought in. But those were Davy Selke and Haidara, who apparently we might be getting at United from Leipzig. Leipzig's a whole different story. Leipzig's a whole different story. But Hoffenheim, he literally spends only at the most 7.7 on two different players in Carlos Eduardo and Josip Simonic.
And if you measure that to Bayern, at the time as a contrast, because obviously they bought the likes of Luca Toni, Miroslav Klose, so there's a big difference in spending. Yes, you have to spend if you want to challenge, but the fact that he was spending cheap and he was actually ahead of Bayern going into the winter break. Eventually, Bayern, I think, went on to win the league that year. I think it was Bayern that won it. It measures like you don't always have to spend big money if you're a very good coach. Jurgen Klopp's done it at Borussia Dortmund. He didn't have to spend big because the players bought into his system. They played fantastic football. So you can spend big, but you can also not win anything, or you can spend properly, have a very good coach and a very good setup behind the manager or the coach and the personnel on the field, and you actually thrive. And that's the difference.
And I mean, if you look at some of the players he brought in for very cheap at multiple clubs, you'll see his success. I mean, you look, first one that really pops out for me.
Kimmich, 500,000.
Kimmich for 500,000 is crazy. But even if you look at his big money spends, you have Roberto Firmino for 4.4 million.
Haaland was about 7.5, 8 million, something like that. Haaland was not too expensive.
They got Hasselberg to Leipzig for 3.85 million. That's a steal. He's one of the best in the German game right now when it comes to defenders.
Look up Sabitzer and Konate.
Oh yeah, and even you look. For me, one of the best defensive midfielders right now in the German game, very underrated, and I'm going to say this some American, but Tyler Adams, who's been absolutely phenomenal for Leipzig since he's been brought up, 2.8 billion.
It's smart business.
It's smart.
It's players that fit.
And of course, it's because he's from the MLS. Everybody's last. He also is very smart because he doesn't buy big. If you look at the teams they came from, I mean, a lot of these aren't teams that were in the first team, team, and in the first division when he bought them.
And they all sold for big money. And they all sold for big money, like Firmino when he was Firmino at Hoffenheim, he was sold for 40 million.
Yeah, he was sold for 10 times his value.
Keita was sold for close to 57 million. That's big. Haaland was sold for what, 20 odd million. So these are Kimmich went from 500,000. I think he went to. I think when he went to Bayern Munich, I think it was close to 10 million. So that's 9.5 million profit. This is what he wanted at Salt. This is what he wanted at his clubs. Cash concept. Cash concept.
I think he said he wanted. I think one thing he said his cash concept would he wanted to double at least every player's value.
Double the selling.
the sell value in the first 2 years. And even if you look at one person who I don't like to mention, but he's on the list of people that he bought it and then sold, but Gylfi Sigurdsson, who I'm not going to go into why
We're not going to get
think
into
much
it,
about
but
him.
yeah.
We're not going to get into him because that's not what it's about. But he's bought from Reading, not a first division club, for $5 million. He sold for 11 to Spurs.
It's smart. It's smart. It's smart
team in
business.
England. He's like, I'm going to take him from a team in England. I'm going to sell him back to another team in England for double.
He also gave certain English players a chance to come over and give a career, like Smith Rowe. He brought him to Leipzig.
Yeah, under 23s, he brought him over at Leipzig.
Augustin helped. Like Augustin was key for them. Look at he's flourishing a little bit. But he's actually gave players a chance. He brought Werner in for Stuttgart, and Werner was sold for well over 40 million. So like that, there's a smart side in there. Sabitzer was a free, and Sabitzer was sold for big money.
The goalie for Leipzig right now, which is Gulacsi. We know he's probably top 3 in Germany right now.
100% top 3.
3.3 million. And I get that from
Salzburg.
Vision,
you won't succeed.
And it's from Salzburg, so it's you can kind of say it's a cheat code kind of thing, but
I don't care that it's a cheat code. I don't care because frankly, like I think people are getting a little bit annoyed about these sister clubs, like. But what's wrong with having a sport group with a sister club? Because if you actually think about it, it's smart for your clubs because at the end of the day, Salzburg are still going to win. Salzburg are still going to win the Austrian league, but they're still developing players that are going to go to the big team, which is Leipzig in Germany. They're going to go and play in the better league, so they're going to develop. You've also got the chance where they're going to go and play other clubs in Europe at the best of their ability and still be able to develop. But you're also actually giving players a chance across the world to come into a group that's actually going to take care of you. So I think people that are skeptical over sports groups, I can understand because it doesn't seem right, but they're giving players a chance and they're actually allowing players to develop at a club closely under the same style of coaching. The only difference is they're just going to go up a level. They're just going to go up to the better league when it's time.
There's one person at Salzburg currently that you and I are both a very, very big fan of.
Adeyemi.
Well, there's Adeyemi. There's Brendan Aronson for me, who's an American.
Fantastic American number 10. I like him. I like Bernardo. He used to play at Leipzig under, funnily enough, under Hasenhüttl and Rangnick twice. Yeah. Bernardo's a left back. He's a fantastic left back. Sola, fantastic centre back. Very quick. I expect him to get a big move. Kamara, defensive midfielder. He's going to be at Leipzig, I think, after if Haidara moves. I think Kamara will go there. Seifeld, he's another one. Okafor, naturally a winger. He's been playing as a striker this season by Russell. So like it's clear where they're going. Like
if you're a Leicester fan, thank Rangnick because his ability to get Salzburg set up. Leicester just brought in somebody from Salzburg who's
Daka,
who's an absolutely phenomenal player.
Hwang from Leipzig was formerly at Salzburg as well, won the Austrian league.
If you look at the team, and you can say, oh, this is just currently they've got players that ended up being good. Like, oh, they just, it's just been current. It's not been forever. If you go back to 2015, 2016, when Gulacsi first came to the side, like when he first came to Leipzig from Salzburg, the people on their team, there's Upamecano, who's on that team.
That's right.
Which a lot of people forget he came from there. There's Naby Keita on that team.
Kevin Campbell's still in there.
There's Mina, who's on that team. Scousers, you better be thankful. There's proper ball. There's Hwan Hee-chan, who's now over. There's proper players in the side back in 2015.
They scout properly. They don't just scout you for 2 minutes. They've taken the approach like Ajax do for scouting. Like they will scout you intensely. They will scout all your attributes as a player, like your strengths, your weaknesses, and they will actually physically help you improve on a position that suits you. They're not just going to. Whereas Ajax will mold you into a complete player to play multiple positions. The Red Bull Sports Group are going to be extremely centrally focused on playing you in a few positions, but you're going to be central in one position that's going to be yours. It's not going to be like wasted. You can have a versatile player in their setup, but it's going to be central to one position. but then they'll still be coached to play a few others. It's completely different, but it's aggressive.
And of course, he created Sadio Mane, which sucks because he's now over at Liverpool.
That's true.
But
That's true.
But Sadio Mane, that's one of the best. That's one of the best wingers in the game at the moment. He's developed to Salzburg, brought in by Rangnick, turned into a beast, shipped off for a lot of money.
Exactly, and people are actually skeptical of getting him. I'm like, behave. He's the right job.
He's exactly who you want. I mean, I don't know why you go. Nah, I don't want that. Merson's an idiot. We know this, but he's just made himself look like even more of a clown with his comments.
He's just got an agenda. I bet you if Rangnick went to Arsenal, he'd be celebrating.
Oh, he'd be losing his crap. And I will say quickly, thank you, Lokomotiv Moscow, for not putting up a fight and for not demanding any money in compensation for us to take him. Thank you.
But did you see the fact that they reacted so badly after he left, saying he's only fueled by money? He's just going to take his company and move. It's clear that one guy at Lokomotiv Moscow is salty because they're losing somebody who was building for them.
Yeah, because they knew they're losing somebody great because they unfortunately had a bigger club that came in and said, "Yeah, I like him." Actually, it happens. It happens with players. It happens with players. You see all the time where lower. There's a whole stigma around when players go down and they get relegated to the league below. The players from that team that are good all get swallowed up and stolen by the bigger clubs in the league above that they just get relegated from.
Except Aaron Ramsdale, that's still the same.
Yeah,
he's still crap.
You look at Watford right now, who's about to go down. I know Sarr's going to get a move at the end of the year. João Pedro's probably going to get a move at the end of the year. It happens every year. So, and it's just like with managers. When you have managers, you look at you look at Rose. He was at. I'm still salty that he left and announced himself in the middle of the season to leave from Borussia Mönchengladbach. But that's neither here nor there. But a bigger club came in. I'm willing to admit, a bigger club came in Dortmund and said, "We need you to come in." He said, "Okay, I'm there." And it happens. Bigger clubs.
And he's won at Salzburg as well. So he was going to end up at like a club like Mönchengladbach and then Dortmund. He was going to end up there anyway. So
hopefully he's our next manager after Rangnick. I'm hoping he's the one who's the front runner for the job. If Rangnick moves upstairs and doesn't get the full-time job, that would absolutely, because I love him. I love him as a person. I love him as a manager. I think he's a great guy.
It has to be a German. It has to be a German for me. Rose. Rangnick.
Could you imagine if he goes, Nagelsmann, leave Bayern, just come manage United instead?
I'd be in dreamland. That's the guy that I want permanently. That's the guy that I want.
Yeah, because for me, if there's a coach I want, it's Nagelsmann. I always talk about Ten Hag, and that's because Nagelsmann just is a dream for me. Nagelsmann's just like, it's like me saying that we're going to buy Casemiro, Kimmich, Goretzka, and I really like Erik Ten Hag. I like the way he's coached Ajax, but if we had got Nagelsmann from Bayern, it would be stellar because he's the guy that I wanted a couple of years ago, and I still stand by. I wanted him when he was at Hoffenheim. I wanted Rangnick when he was at Hoffenheim, so I haven't changed my point of view. The only reason oh my gosh, can you imagine?
The only reason I went for the likes of Pochettino or Ten Hag is because of the fact is they're more centrally focused. They seem to be the two front runners. Nagelsmann's still a favourite on United's list, but he isn't he's doing a really good job at Bayern. He's not really going to get out so easily.
The 5-0 to Mönchengladbach is not a great result for Nagelsmann, and that's something that I'm gonna.
No, that wasn't a good one. But
I'll talk about it until I'm blue in the face because that never happens for us. But those results are unfortunately going to happen. But the difference is he's still doing the business elsewhere. So it says all. And Rose, if he came in, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Anyone within the Red Bull Sport Group that I've actually managed, I wouldn't be opposed to. Hasenhüttl, I wouldn't be opposed to it. That's what I was just going to ask about. I would not be opposed to Hasen because he's actually done fairly good with a really shite Southampton team.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit too soon, but Jassel is the coach at Salzburg right now. They're going to win the league anyway.
Would you say Jesse Marsch?
I think he's a bit too soon for Jassel. I hope down the line. But Marsch, I'm not sure. I don't think he is earmarked by Rangnick. He's earmarked him as a potential for the job, but I don't know if he'll come in. I think after he goes to Leipzig, I think he may end up at Bayern down the line after Nagelsmann. I think he may end up at The American team, I'm not sure, but
I'm
I think he's
hoping he, every time the United States men's national team wins a game, if you look at his likes, all of his likes are the team posting about winning.
yeah.
The hope for me is when Berhalter gets fired, because he's an absolute waste of space, that we bring in Jesse Marsch and he ends up coaching the golden generation. Because if we get Nagelsmann at United and Marsch at the United States men's national team, while Scotland's in the middle of their golden generation right now, possibly 2 games from qualifying for the World Cup, I'm in dreamland. I'm literally pinching myself saying, when the hell am I waking
yeah,
up?
I get you. Yeah, I completely agree.
But moving on, of course, from his history, his tactics. Now, of course, that's what he's known for. Besides just what he's done as the top of the, bringing in players wise, what he's really known for the most is being the founder, the father of the almighty gegenpressing. And that has to be discussed.
Oh, hands down. Like I said earlier when we spoke about his first managerial job in 1983, he was inspired by Valery. It's hard to pronounce his surname, but Valery Lobanovsky. Like, the reason he was influenced by him in a way, because he was also inspired by Arrigo Sacchi, one of my favorites, as I mentioned at the start of the show. But
Milan manager.
Exactly. But like, Lobanovsky influenced them because he spoke clearly about that game. It was just a friendly versus Dynamo Kiev in 1984. It was literally just a friendly because they were at the time Russian champions, I think, Russian champions, Ukraine champions, something like that. Wherever they were champions at the time, and they came in, just gave them a friendly. He openly challenged them, and he said the reason he was influenced by them is purely because of how they approached the game, even from a throw-in. He felt that there were how many players were on the field, because it wasn't 11. He said it was 12, 13, 14, because they were just completely marking out his team at a throw-in any way they could, intensely, to get the ball back and pressure and attack on goal. And he took that approach, and he approached it to German football, and he tried to think about how he can do it. And it literally came from there. The gegenpress. Like, it's a counter-pressing style, counter-press, attack, like high pressing style, filled with intensity, aggression, designed to win the ball back quickly and attack at a very intense style with so much pressure that it forces a team into mistakes.
I mean, 8 seconds and 10 seconds are going to become. I was talking to some buddies of mine and talking to them about the 8 second and the 10-second rule. They were in dreamland just having me talk about it, because it's 2 rules that I love. 10 seconds once you get the ball to score, and if you give the ball away, you have 8 seconds to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
like 10 seconds. Well, attack within that 10 seconds is optimum time. But
and
even if it's just a little bit over, like
it's a simple thing. It's a simple reason why you attack in the first 10 seconds of getting the ball back, because it's when the defense is scrambled.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this revolution. And Liverpool, what is Liverpool known for? What is their style of play? What is their style of play? What are they known for? It's pressing.
Mm-hmm.
And their manager, Klopp, literally not only is said he is a pupil, he is a child of Ragnick's philosophy. He's already come on record and said he's terrified.
He's already credited, like Klopp's credited that his key influence in football, he's always said, is Wolfgang, which I completely respect. Wolfgang's one of the greatest technicians and tacticians in the game. But he also credited that 4-1 defeat to Hoffenheim in 2008. He said, because they got battered purely on that pressing style. Klopp's team was pressing at the time. Like, there's no going to ignore that. His team was pressing. His Dortmund team that he took over. But that 4-1 result changed his approach to pressing. It was clear, like, we have to press like Hoffenheim, because it's relentless. It's consistent pressing, and it's pressing as a team from the front, but also from the back. Everyone has to press, and you press whether it be a 3-2-3 in that way, or you press a 3-3-2 or a 2-2. You got to press as a team in a consistent style, and you've got to do it as a team. The 8 seconds is by pressing in the best, like, the 8-second press is purely designed as an intense way to win the ball back in the best way that forces a chance on goal, that's going to create a clear-cut chance. The best chances within 8 seconds are the ones that will lead to 10 seconds scoring from that 10 seconds. Clear examples is Leipzig. Win the ball back within 8 seconds in the half spaces. 10 seconds, you're going to get cleared on goal. If you want an example, obviously this is a recording, but when you're watching it back, look up the top 10 goals scored in that season under Ralf Rangnick. You'll see it's 11.92 seconds roughly, and it starts to build down, and it's quick, it's focused, and it's central to this pressing style.
60% of his goals that year were within the first 10 seconds, part of his philosophy.
And 30% were set pieces, which is also central to his coaching.
Yeah, he said, I beg people, I'm going to post
The
after I post this
coach's
video.
voice. The coach's voice. You have to watch.
I'm going to post 2 videos that I watched that really helped me to learn about him. And the great thing is, he's not a manager that's willing to die out. He has one formation base, but he's not going to die on the hill like Ole did with the 4-2-3-1.
He will tweak it if he has to.
He has the 4-4-2, but he has 3 different variations of it, and he's even been credited with saying he will go to the 3-5-2 if needed.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got 3 different variations of just one base formation to screw with your head and get in your head and
but the style doesn't change.
Against him.
The style of play doesn't change.
No.
It's just the formation.
That's the point. The formation can change. The style of play never changes.
And that's what people have to remember. This is what Klopp has done. This is what Tuchel's done. This is what Nagelsmann's done. This is what Marsh has done. This is what Marco Rose has done. This is what Yassel is doing at Salzburg. This is what.
If you listen to the names, Chelsea, Dortmund, and now Liverpool, Dortmund, Leipzig. It's not even like these people that he inspired are managing small clubs.
They're managing the best.
They're managing the best because they are the best.
German coaches are the best in the world.
Yeah, the two best teams in Germany, and let's not mention Bayern just won the quad. Both managed by German managers who came from the guy who we just got.
Mm-hmm. And you've also got Hansi Flick as well. Hansi Flick.
If you're not excited by this manager coming in, you need to get your head checked, give your head a wobble, and get yourself straight, because there's no reason any man, even if you don't know a lot about him, just be very excited for the future of this club on the field and in the front office, because this is exactly what we need.
The one thing that's going to change though is his approach to spending. So whereas at other clubs didn't particularly have the budget to spend money, the richest club he actually did manage was Leipzig. In terms of budget, it was the biggest, but it was still the same concept. It was smart signings.
You still only spent 20 million as his top signing.
Exactly. When he comes into Man United, his top signings most likely going to be higher up for about 33 million if he gets the go ahead. But on the back of that, it's United are still going to you're still going to see big signings at Man United, but it's not going to be big signings every single year. It's going to be like our biggest signing could be a 40-50 million pound signing instead of 60-70, because it's going to be a 30-40 million pound signing that actually benefits the club in the short term and the long term. So we're going to be spending money properly rather than just wasting it on trying to fill a square peg and all that. It's not going to change anymore. It's going to be properly done. So we're going in the right direction because of this guy.
So fans don't get too upset when we're ending our year and our biggest signing is only 30 million. Please do not go off a cliff. I mean, it's just, you just look at it and it just makes me happy, because it's just finally we have someone I can look at and go, yes, I like him. I like what he does. And this is one of the reasons I like Ten Hag, is because he's managed a budget that he didn't ever have a lot at Ajax. He's never had a lot at Ajax. Ajax is never a club that's spending 120 million on a player, or even 80 million on a player.
I agree.
And Rangnick's one of the original people to do it and have great success. He is the, Ten Hag of yesteryear. He's one who literally built clubs from the ground up with his own 2 hands.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You see, and it's not like it's with this of course, with this formation, we know the gegenpressing, but of course, I'll just quickly say his 3 main formations, which is the 4-4-2 base, the 4-4-2 diamond formation, which I think we'll see a heck of a lot of, but his main formation, which Reese, of course, knows, is the 4-2-2-2, which.
Funnily enough, we're playing a diamond today. We're actually playing a diamond 4-4-2 today. It's been confirmed. We're playing.
Ragnick's gotten characters here and go, try this. I bet you it might work.
like literally our starting lineup. I'm not joking. This is our starting lineup: De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Bai, Lindelof, Alex Telles, Matic, McTominay, Fred, Bruno, Rashford, and Sancho as split strikers. And on the bench is Dalot, Jones, Lingard, Mata, Van de Beek, Greenwood, Martial, Ronaldo. He's playing a wide forward and a striker. Now I know that's familiar from somewhere. Oh wait, yeah, that's exactly what Rangnick did in a 4-2-2-2. So
I mean, you
yeah,
can't. I mean, of course, it's funny because I would love to know the reason for all the changes, but it definitely. And the thing is, for me, and I've said this before, my formation for him, and of course, we can now go into kind of what we think this means for United, who we think excels, and who we think will not be as good. People are saying, but it's going to sacrifice the wingers. Reese, Ragnick's going to sacrifice the wingers with this formation. Is he really? I really don't think so. Because the people I think they're going to sell the most are the people that play on the wings. Because they're going to be those people in that pivot right below the strikers. But we'll see Rashford do something that he used to do for quite a while, which is play as a striker. But for him, I think it's a blessing in disguise because he's going to basically be a second striker off of Ronaldo. And we saw what happened the first time he did that. First time he was a second striker off the back of Ronaldo, it was dreamlands for us when we were playing. And if we're playing with my ideal, and you can talk to me if I'm wrong, my ideal formation, my ideal lineup here: De Gea, net, Wan-Bissaka, Veron, Maguire, and I think honestly we might see a new left back brought in because we've heard that left and right back are definitely up in jeopardy in this new formation. Back pivot, I think Fred and Donny. You move forward and you have Sancho and Bruno, and then up top you have Rashford and Ronaldo. And top to bottom, that's players that are going to press. They're going to play hard. And they all have a lot of talent. And a lot of people are telling me that I'm leaving out Pogba. And I'm not. I am leaving out Pogba. And Reese, I think you'll agree with me. There's a reason I'm leaving out Pogba.
he won't fit in this system, in this style of play. He won't fit, and also he's injured till January, so he's going to be missing out. So he isn't going to have time to assimilate. So yeah, I agree. Like he isn't in my starting 11 either, purely because it just will not work.
Yeah, and it sucks, but he's already on his way out. If we're all really honest with ourselves, he's already on his way out. But I think there will be people that fans love that will end up not working and will end up leaving. And there'll be people that have been hated before that will end up thriving in this. I mean, McFred, I think, is two of the players that will thrive in this new philosophy, this new way of playing. Rashford's somebody who I think is going to absolutely thrive in this way of playing. Donny's going to see himself finally get the minutes that he deserves and flourish. It's going to be fun.
I think one of the McFred's going to suffer, and that's McTominay.
And for me, I can see why people think
he's not a progressive forward player. He's not a progressive forward player. If you actually watch him, like he's only trying to play forward passes now to actually stay in the team. Yeah. It's not his game. He's not a progressive player, and obviously the McTominay stands are all going to come for me. But just remember, I'm Scottish, so I'm used to disappointment.
You're talking to McTominay, a massive McTominay fan here already.
I'm used to disappointment from McTominay. I'm used to his disappointment because he's not a progressive forward player. He's either sideways or plays backwards, plays it safe. He'll only play forward if he's actually got a lot of space. He doesn't take a chance. Yes, he can play a very good long ball, but he's not a risky player. He's not quick. He's not forward progressing either. He's got a physical presence. Is he going to start under Rangnick? I seriously doubt it.
I don't think he will, but I think he'll flourish in the fact that his ability to just have that ever-going motor is going to be the thing that keeps him at the team and keeps him getting minutes because, like you said with pressing, it's not a little bit of it. It's you're always doing it or you're not. And that's one thing that we know with McTominay. He's constantly going. He's constantly running. He's constantly doing everything he can to get in people's faces. And he's not afraid to put in the hard tackle when he needs to. Might not get the ball half the time, but he'll put his foot in and try and take him down. I honestly look at him as kind of an enforcer for the team. We've seen it a lot of times where if a player gets taken down or taken out and it's kind of a weird foul or it's a not called foul, he's the first player that goes over and is like, and now I'm going to take you out, and it's going to be hurt. It's going to hurt because you did this to my player, so it's time for me to do this to you. And I think that's what keeps him in the team as a whole. I think that's what keeps him at the club. But I do think we'll see him not. We'll see him exactly where I see him in general. I'm a McTominay fan. He's my second favorite player on the entire team. I see him as a player coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think that's where he's going to be. I think it's going to be Van de Beek and Fred. I think because you're actually going to see Fred be like Fred's a good player. People will just scapegoat him a lot, and I'm honestly sick of it.
Fred's done a lot to show that there's been nervous about him, but I think this is his time to flourish, and I think he's going to do better. But
yeah, it's clean. It's a clean slate. It's a clean slate for him.
Like, yeah, everybody gets clean slate. New club, new manager, new clean slate with everybody. And even Sean said that with everybody, including Scott. And I think Scott will be a bench player, but because he's a bench player, when he does perform, I think people will see him in a better light because I don't think he's a terrible player. I mean, he had 7 goals for us last year in a double pivot. Mind you, 2 of those came against Leeds, but you know, he won us some games. He won us West Ham last year. He won us Arsenal last year. And so you have to look at it like, yeah, he's not terrible, but I think now is a great time because he's going to be relegated to the bench, and everybody's going to – I think he might at first be kind of irritated because he has been starting for forever under Ole. But I think he's going to become a better player off the bench and have fans love him more as a player off the bench than they did love him as a starter because he's going to have that 60th minute spark of coming on with a ton of energy, and he'll end up winning the ball for us, getting a ball. Like our last game that we had that we won against for Villarreal. He won the ball after playing terribly all game. His motor kept him going, and he made a great pass that started a huge counterattack that got the game, the goal that sealed it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key element right there. That's the key element. But I just look at people openly disregard Fred's passing. Like, I know there's games where he has howler passes, but there's been games where Fred's precise passes have actually led to goals.
The only howlers that he has is whenever he shoots the ball.
At least in this game, you're going to see Fred he's going to be made to be disciplined in a set system. He's going to be made to be disciplined, like through a coach that actually knows what he's doing. And Fred can press, but he doesn't press effectively as well. So he's going to have somebody who actually understands that style, and he's actually going to coach him. It's the same with Bruno Fernandes. Bruno, quality player, but he doesn't press coherently. It's not guided. It's just press, but not in a coherent fashion. So he's going to be told to do that. He's going to be disciplined. There's going to be games, by the way, and United fans might not like this, but there's games where Bruno's going to be played in a deeper role, similar to how Savitzer played it, like under Rangnick. He's going to be played in a deeper role.
That might be better.
It's because of his passing range. It's because of his passing range that's going to benefit. He's going to be made to be a coherent presser, and it's going to be consistent. He's going to be disciplined. Bruno's not going to be all wild anymore. He's still going to be wild in games when he needs to be, but he's going to be more disciplined, and that's going to cause a lot of teams problems. And that's the best thing for him.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are going to need to look at this and realize that, just exactly as we've been saying, this is not something where you can look at every player as they were under the last manager. We see what a perfect example is Jose to Ole, Luke Shaw. He was terrible under Jose, but I think that's partially Jose's fault, and that's partially because of some really bad injuries for Luke Shaw. Under Ole, for last year at least, best left back in the league, if not one of the best 2 or 3 left backs in the world last year, along with Alphonso Davies. So you can see how under managers, players. I feel like people believe that a player will be the exact same way their entire career, no matter who they're under, and I think that's kind of how Pogba is, where he's going to be the same way under anybody. But players can adapt. Players can function as human beings and not robots.
If you coach them properly, they'll actually function the way you want them to. If you coach them properly, if you don't, then they're not going to benefit. So they'll get a proper coach. And this is what Rangnick brings. He's bringing in proper coaches. He wants to bring in 2 assistants. So there goes Carrick and McKenna. Like, they're not going to be the main 2 assistants anymore. Fantastic. They can be understudies. That's what they should be in the first place. They shouldn't be the main coaches. It's going to be proper coaches doing the training sessions with a manager who's hands-on in coaching. So we're going to see benefits. A lot of people are having fears about Rangnick's style being implemented, and I completely respect that. But like I said at the start of the show, if you buy in to Rangnick, you're going to benefit. If you don't buy in, you're not going to play. So I do honestly see us benefiting a lot from his style. It's going to take a little bit of time. I think United wasted a perfect opportunity. If they wanted to get Rangnick, they should have done it in
2019.
the. Well, yeah, but I mean, like this season, for example, they could have done it during the winter break when they had 14 days off. That's 14 days benefit to who was
Yeah.
already at the club. Everyone else would just get involved over time because they were like
I will
international.
say he does.
international football.
Now that he is coming in, he does kind of get a little bit of a patty cake, layup run of games when he does come in. Because if you look at our, I think they said his first game is going to be Arsenal or Crystal Palace. Did they say? I forget which one.
Arsenal,
They said.
Arsenal, yeah.
So after that, he's got Crystal Palace, Young Boys, Norwich, Brentford, Brighton, Newcastle, Burnley, Wolves, Villa, West Ham, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, Watford. And then we run in, of course, March is, I think, the worst thing I've ever seen in my history. I think it's the worst month of games I've ever seen as a United fan. Going City, Tottenham, Liverpool. And then, oh, hey, by the way, now that you're starting April, let's go to Leicester City. I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you really want, March is just going to be a dreadful time for United fans because we're just going to be nervous every single day.
I think if you actually see the team playing the way he wants us to play and the results are coming in, there'd be no reason to be nervous.
And we can finally, I can't wait till we smash Conte and Spurs because we can finally say, yeah, you might have loved Conte, but you and I, neither of us really wanted him here.
I only wanted him at the time because it would actually put pressure on the board. But now they've actually brought in somebody who's taken the power from them, so I'm happy with that.
I'm good. I've got
no issues with Conte as a manager.
This is the
guy I really wanted anyway, so I'm happy with that. But Conte, I would have taken him purely because it puts pressure on players and puts pressure on the board. Now they've got somebody who's going to make them work to a style that's modern and dangerous.
It's like if we were to bring in Goretzka or Kimmich, it's somebody who I've dreamed of for forever of coming in, but always kind of was like, it's never going to happen. There's no way he ever comes to the club. Oh, he's here. He's here. It's literally, for me, as from a coach, coaching wise, it's as if we brought in Joshua Kimmich from Bayern Munich.
It's top of the range for the coaching setup that we want. It's the best that you can get. It is by far the best option.
It's literally like we brought in Joshua Kimmich or Goretzka on a free.
Yeah, exactly.
It's dreamland. I would have never expected this to happen, and now that it has, I just can't say anything but thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and I studied this dude for a little bit, because I remember in 2019 when we were scouting from Leipzig, and of course when Leipzig was having their big, coming into the world, I studied him a lot. But now that he's really come, I've done some more studying, and the more I look at him and the more I study him, listen to him speak, listen to how he coaches, listen to what he does, the more you just get excited. I love his philosophy of, pressing by trapping as well. His pressing is not, I think that's where Klopp is kind of different. He's inspired but different, where it's just all the time pressing, under Klopp. Rangnick's a little bit smarter about it. And I think I've already seen a trap that he runs that I think will work against City. And that's the dummy trap that he likes to play on the defensive midfielders in the middle of the park. The dummy trap, I think, is something that's going to work perfectly against City. I think the center back trap also is going to work because they love to pass it around. We know how much City loves to pass around, and most clubs like to pass around their back line.
Exactly.
And
I still think it's funny that people think De Gea's getting dropped. I still think it's funny.
Why would you think De Gea's getting dropped?
De Gea's not getting dropped because Rangnick's teams don't build from the goalkeeper.
No, he said it himself.
Fewest touches possible.
Yeah.
Fewest touches possible. So if you think De Gea's getting dropped, there's something wrong with you.
Rangnick's philosophy with goalkeepers is their whole job is just to save. Which, funny enough, that's what De Gea does best. It's just save the ball.
I don't see Maguire benefiting from him, by the way. Maguire's a good defender, but I don't see him benefiting purely because Maguire has the one limiting factor that's going to be a problem. High aggressive, high line defending, where you expect to play the ball very quickly. Maguire's a very slow defender. He's good at building the ball back. I'm not going to discredit that. But he's not quick enough. And in this style of play, he's either going to be forced to work to try and try and build some speed, or he's going to be on the bench. Maguire's in jeopardy. Luke Shaw's in jeopardy as well. Because look, in terms of Rangnick doesn't rate him. Rangnick does not rate Luke Shaw. And
It
I like
sucks
Luke.
because that's two of my favorite players that are my two favorite players on the bench.
I like
With
Luke
Shaw
Shaw,
and
but
McTominay.
I like Luke Shaw, but I see where he's coming from, and that's why I respect him. The fact he was bold enough to say that last year, he's not. They need something new in there. They're going to look at that, and that's ballsy. Like that's smart.
Yeah.
Tellez is potentially going to thrive. Dallow's got a chance over Wan-Bissaka because
Dallo, I
Wan-Bissaka
think, is going to be out of the
isn't
club
there.
by this time. By this time next year, I
But he'll
think
be
Dallo's
gone.
out of the club.
But he'll be gone. Like something else will come in, like maybe a Baku, for example. That like it's going to be looked at like, but you're going to see certain players who think they're undisputed starters. That's going to change.
I think Maguire, the only saving grace for him is even Ragnar said that you don't need to be a super speedy because the whole point of his
Don't have
formation
to
is
be.
the center backs just have to stick to those forwards like glue. You don't always have to be super quick for it. So I think
As
that
long as
might
you
be
use
his
your
one saving
brain.
grace.
As long as you use your brain. The only thing though is like Maguire isn't particularly quick enough. Like he's going to have to be careful. So if it's a quicker forward, they're going to have to transition where Veron deals with the quicker player. Like when he's
Yeah,
back fully fit, that's the only way that Maguire's going to
but I do
benefit.
see
Maguire is a
Lindelof
very good
possibly
passer.
slipping into this. As
Mm-hmm.
much as I don't like Lindelof, and I think honestly, in my eyes, we sell Lindelof when we sell Bailly and we sell Jones, and we bring in two new center backs. I think Lindelof will probably end up doing pretty well, and if he does, it's. I say this with every single player. I will
I
continue to say
warned
this for every
you.
single player. I may not like them, but if they prove me wrong, I'm the first one. And you've seen me, Reese. How many times have I said, "Yeah, Fred's actually had a." I'm not a fan of Fred, and I've never said I'm a fan of Fred. But you've seen me. I've admitted when he's done very well, when he's put in man of the match performances, put in 8. I've been the first one to be like, "Yeah, he played really well." I will always give credit when it's due, even if it's a player I don't really like.
Just remember, in this sense, I did warn you. I warned you firsthand. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm looking forward to as well? Because obviously we watch other YouTube channels, like Rich's channel. There's a fair few in that live chat that would rather Henderson play over De Gea. Well, here's a bit of advice for you. And the ones that don't rate Fred, the ones that say Van de Beek's better, Van de Beek's going to thrive, but so's Fred. That's going to be your midfield most of the time.
That's
But here's
probably
another.
going to be your midfield.
But the
Yeah.
ones that say Fred isn't good enough, well, you're going to eat your words, you bunch of muppets, because that's about to change.
And see, for me,
The ones that have like Maguire over Lindelof, that's about to change completely. De Gea is going to be over Henderson because Henderson isn't a good shot stopper. He isn't.
his whole thing is that he's known as being someone who can play it out from the back. He's a sweeper keeper, which was great for us when we needed him to be a sweeper keeper, and that's what we needed as a goalie. But right now, it's not what we need under
Exactly.
Ragnick.
It's fewest touches, stand in the box, and actually defend your goal. De Gea is going to be fine.
If you're a
It's in
goaltender,
front of him over.
I'm going to take. So there's this guy on YouTube he does hockey, and I've been watching him, and he's great. And one of his quotes is about goalies in hockey, but I think it kind of goes to any sport that there's a goalie. Goaltenders, your number one job is to tend the goal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what De Gea does best and what Henderson's not nearly as good at. So anybody calling for Henderson to start, Owen, I'm going to call you out by name. You probably won't watch this. I'm sorry, buddy. Henderson's not getting starting minutes even under this new manager as well. You're going to have to see him on the bench again.
And he's on the bench today anyway in Carrick's last game, so
Yeah.
But
it is.
like it says it all really where we're going, and Rangnick's the right one for the job. He's going to implement a system. I think 4-2-2-2-2 is going to be our it's going to be our system.
It doesn't sacrifice the wingers.
We will use a 4-3-3 at some stage.
Of course.
Not bothered. But it's the 4-2-2-2 that I see as predominantly using. It's going to be a wide forward with a target man. It's going to be a number 10 with a wide 10. So that's going to be Sancho and Bruno. It's going to be Rashford and Ronaldo. It's going to be Donny and Fred in the midfield. Wan-Bissaka, Varane when fully fit, Lindelof, Tellez.
I could easily see that. And I think honestly the guy who's going to cook the most under this new manager in the defense is Veron. Veron's going to be so happy because that dude's got a motor.
Mm-hmm.
He is. Yep. He is exactly how he said he is. He's a Rolls Royce.
Exactly.
He's a Rolls Royce.
I don't expect everyone to be a hit, but there will be a fair few misses.
Yeah, everybody is never hit when someone first comes in. We see it all the time. Martial's dropped off a cliff under Ole.
He might get a chance.
He might, but I think he's going to be one of those players that ends up getting sold in January or in the summer because he's one of the people that's going to flop. Him and Pogba, I think, are two guys that's going to flop. I think Bailly is going to be a little bit too out there and aggressive, a little bit too out there for Ragnick's tastes, with his kind of foolishness. I think Ragnick would say, with his ability to just kind of do things that you really aren't supposed to do, step overs in the 18. You know what I'm talking about, Reese. Step over in the 18, doing freaking flick ups and juggling and all sorts of stupid crap. But I do think we'll see quite a bit. I think we'll see a lot more be a hit than we will see people flop.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the key element. And the fact that we're going out with a very bold 11 today as well suggests that we're going to go in that direction as well. So I'm fine with that. I don't. Yes, I think it was a bit of a bad decision that certain people have been kept. The likes of Field and Carrick, McKenna, they've been kept. But then again, we had nobody. You weren't going to get bin them all, because who's going to run the team for the interim period? Like, you had to get somebody in. At least they've done that. The new manager wants to bring in Kornetska from PSV. Fantastic. He had him at Leipzig. Fitness coach, assistant manager, data analyst as well. So that's 3 key roles. He's going to bring in another assistant manager with him as well. So he's going to have that.
Do you think Ramsey stays?
I think Ramsey will develop under them. I think Ramsey will develop under him. He'll be made to work better under a German way of thinking, a German mold of coaching. McKenna and Carrick are going to do the same. If they don't, they'll be replaced.
Yeah, and I love his philosophy of This is one thing that really stuck out to me during his coach's talk, was what percentage of goals are scored from set pieces? 30%. So what percent of your training should be on set pieces? 30%. Because if 30% of goals are scored from set pieces, if you're you're the best at set pieces, that's 30% of the goal. That you're contributing a lot of goals from set pieces. And he said that the people who do the best are the people who are best at set pieces. We look at Liverpool, as much as it makes me want to puke.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best at set pieces in the world right now, with Trent Alexander-Arnold and who they have, and look how the success they've had. City's the same way. Bayern Munich is so good. By the way, congrats to Bayern Munich, 102 goals in the year 2021. That's absolutely fantastic. But you look at it, all these teams, Bayern Munich, Man City, Liverpool, you go over to Spain and you look at Atletico Madrid, who did very well and won the league last year. Very, very good at set pieces, whether that's throw-ins, whether that's free kicks, whether that's corner kicks, penalties. It's
center focused and it's committed to the job in hand, and that's the difference. That's what we don't have. We don't have a modern way of thinking. We were living in the past.
We're not going to be very wide. We're not going to be a very wide team. This is not a team that you can expect width from, but you can expect results, and that's what matters.
Even if we do use width, it'll be width in terms of using the half spaces and being aggressive from that side, hogging that side, and then moving into the middle. We will use width for bringing the balls into the box, but we're going to be all over the place. But our main focus is going to be through the middle, and that's going to be dangerous. We're going to use the width really well. But the difference is it's going to be width for pressing.
Width for results, not width for width.
Exactly.
No more back passes, no more square passes. Dreamland.
Counter pressing, high pressing, aggressive, win the ball back, forward, progressive football. Modern approach.
Just thinking about it. I have tears in my eyes just thinking. I can already see trophies.
I don't know if we'll win any this season.
I don't even care
if anyone's got a good chance of doing it.
If anybody's going to win it, it's going to be him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his first ever job back in 1983, won the 4th division his first year.
Exactly.
So he's used to coming in and immediately winning stuff. So that happens.
This is the only way is up for United, and that's the fact. The only way is up, and we've got the right manager. We're going to go the right way forward. It's a proper style. It's a successful style. It's a entertaining style as well, which is something that I've always wanted. Win games, win trophies, but be entertaining. We're playing a style that's done that for decades. So there's no way around this. We're going to be an even better team. We're going to be We're going to be a well organized but aggressive team. And the fact that Jurgen Klopp is sweating says it all. The fact that Thomas Tuchel's praised him says it all. Like, gave him his first job at Stuttgart, aged 15, as a coach. gave him his job. Like, this is the difference. These are managers that credit them really well. Nagelsmann's come out and credit him, saying like Man United have got one of the best to take them forward. The only ones that are moaning about it are Merza and I think Carragher and Roy Keane had a go against each other. I don't know what was said, but I need to check
Yeah,
it.
but that's always just
They had a back and forth. I think Carragher praised that. I think, I'm not sure, but
we always see it.
This is the way forward. Like,
If you have
the
other
German
managers
method,
going, I'm scared, or Man United has really done the business here, you know you've done well. Because with
because
Ole,
it's
it
not been
wasn't like
done in a long time. The only one who wasn't actually sure about it was Guardiola, because he's only met him once. So at
Yeah.
least Guardiola was like, he's honest.
Yeah. But you can be honest and say you don't know, but that's the thing, is because you don't know what to expect, and that's exactly what I can't wait for. But with us hitting the hour mark, we are 25 minutes from kickoff. Of course, this is going to be coming out. I'm literally going to be trying to put this out within the next 15 minutes, so this should hopefully come out right before kickoff. But this has been, hopefully, for those of you who don't know as much about him, an informative piece. If you please listen to all of it, don't just listen to 15 minutes, because all of this is some really important stuff, and this is not waffle. It's really trying to break down who he is and what we think of him coming in. But Reese, thank you
My
for
pleasure.
someone who's known this guy for forever and idolizes him. Having you on here was absolutely like a key for me to have when I wanted to talk about Ragnar, because I knew you just know everything about him.
My pleasure. Like, honestly, the best ways to look up Rangnick is look up his time, particularly from Hoffenheim in Leipzig, particularly as a manager, and then when he went into the director of football role, because that's what we're getting as well. His experience as director of football. Look up that key info, key there. You're in for a great ride, honestly.
Man United, be prepared for success. The rest of the world, be prepared. Ragnick's Ragnarok is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, subscribe, turn the bell on, and everybody have a great day.
Ralf is
The
God.
Red
Ralf is
Devils.
God. Rangnick is Ragnarok.
Peace.